What's something you shouldn't give to a homeless person? We used to check in on this homeless man occasionally to make sure he was doing okay. One year we were chatting and he says, "Hey, I have to give you something." I was excited, thinking maybe he's super artsy and made us something cool to remember him by. He opens his trench coat and reveals a giant frozen uncooked slab of pork. Someone gave me this freaking slab of meat. What the frick does he think I'm going to do with this? I'm sick of carrying this around. I would have taken it, cooked it up and returned it as a pork and veggie roast. Don't just drop off food in to-go containers near someone's tent. If you're bringing food, talk to them, give it to them. Stacking up perishable food they can't manage or really throw away is only bringing mice to their living situation. Really glad I read this comment because I've done exactly this more than once. Lesson learned. Thank you. Related story time. I used to work at a thrift store in processing. Basically, I sorted donations, cleaned them up if needed, priced them, and put them out onto the floor. One day I got in a donation a bunch of those kits you see people put together for homeless people. They have things like a stick of deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, hand sanitizer, wet wipes, that sort of thing. I was going through them for things we weren't allowed to put onto the floor, like medication. They had packets of Tylenol in them when I found a folded $50 bill in there. I unfolded it, and it was one of those Christian pamphlet things. You know, the ones that say, money isn't the cure for everything. Only Jesus will get you into heaven or whatever. So basically, don't get someone who's desperate for money fake money that says they shouldn't worry about money. Would be funny if people started putting those fake bill Christian pamphlets into the collection plate. A frozen turkey. Had a friend who used to send plated meals to the homeless people near her house. Occasionally. One day one of them came to her door with a frozen turkey. Someone had driven to the homeless area and handed this woman a frozen turkey. When the woman delivered it, she said, "I figured you have an oven. Maybe you can use it." What did they think I was going to do with it? I've got a shopping cart, not an oven. I used to work for a non-profit and we gave out branded tire pressure gauges. I'm not sure why. I thought it was an odd choice, but we found out one day while outreaching that some of our clients were turning them into crack pipes. Needless to say, we stopped giving those out. Haha. Canned food without pull open tabs. Anything that is perishable, homemade food, unless you know them. Judgment. People can be homeless for a variety of reasons. Not every homeless person is a bad person, and no one deserves to be homeless. Whether how they got there or what they're doing while they're there is wrong to you. Good things. Baby wipes, water bottles, reusable too, socks, hand warmers, hygiene products for periods. Best thing. Ask them. Each person is different, has access to different resources. The best way to know someone's needs is to ask them yourself. ETA. I say not homemade food because people have sometimes added things in the food to make it inedible. From the toothpaste prankster to glass. Things can still be added to sealed food, sure, but definitely less likely and more noticeable, in my opinion. Canned food without pull open tabs. Because of how common that is, I'd feel that can opener might be a useful thing if you have one to give. Mostly related, but I work at a homeless shelter and you would not believe some of the crap that comes through donations. Lingerie, beat up clothing and shoes, outdated appliances. If you want to donate, you can always call ahead and see if the shelter is looking for particular items. Seasonal clothing, hygiene items, not half-used shampoo bottles, and new socks and underwear are always good ideas. That reminds me of my time when I worked at a homeless center for mentally ill homeless and I was tasked with sorting out a box of DVDs that were donated. 75% of the box was pee. Ask them what they want. We had a homeless man who walked around in a garbage bag. Explain people kept giving him clothes and 3 times he had been attacked for them. If you're not sure what they need, ask. Instead of cash, I asked a man what he wanted from the gas station and he asked for laundry detergent. We always think about food and shelter, which are fundamental, but hygiene is such a larger category of luxury that we take for granted. TBH, this is gonna sound weird, but homemade food. It's better to give already packaged, ready-made food so that there isn't any doubt that the food has been tampered with. Whatever they don't want, I was gonna buy a homeless dude a nice backpack once, but he didn't want to because chances he will get robbed for it or stolen. Same. I bought one regular in my neighborhood a sleeping mat, sleeping bag, and a tarp. He sold them, but he explained that if he hadn't he would have likely been robbed. They are often targeted. My grandma once watched a homeless woman's bag of stuff break and the woman started crying. My grandma had one of those sturdy reusable grocery bags. She asked the women if she liked the bag. Grandma gave her the bag and the women acted like she'd been given $1 million. Sometimes it's the things we'd never expect that mean the world to the homeless. Apples. Try softer foods. I've done outreach work. They get so much food and water, but females need feminine hygiene products and they all need socks. Laxatives. This homeless guy that used to live in a nearby bridge was given food that secretly had some sort of laxative in it. Needless to say, he became a lot more wary of free food afterwards. I don't think they ever found out who the poser did it was. Milk-based foods. If a person spends some years without consuming dairy products, they lose their ability to digest lactose. Lactose intolerance increases with age. I googled to provide a reference, and there are many, so you can Google if you want to check this. I'm really surprised I haven't seen this answer, but anything of noticeably high value, brand name clothing or shoes, expensive backpacks, watches, etc. This can get them killed, or at the very least targeted and mugged. It also makes things harder for them to be taken seriously and receive effective aid if they're dressed in expensive clothing. That or it's assumed they stole it, which is a whole other problem. This should honestly be the top answer. Rich people want to make themselves feel good and donate Gucci sweaters and crap that will get them fricked up and robbed, and nobody will ever help a dude in a Gucci sweater with a few bucks to get some food. It's just all around a really screwed up gift donation. Gatorade. I tried handing out some bottles of ice cold Gatorade one summer and I got turned down by over a dozen people. Apparently it gives them the runs. I was thinking electrolytes. It's got what plants crave. No uncooked food, raw meats, veggies like potatoes or eggplant, anything boozy, high value items that is expensive shirts with the brand visible, because who would you give your money to? The dude in rags, or the dude in the Supreme shirt? Canned food without a pull tab. On another note, what you should give: dry shampoo since it's easier to rinse out, hand sanitizer gel, toothbrushes and toothpaste, warm clothes and leftover blankets, especially if it's winter like RN, and insoles. They run around all day in beat up shoes and goddang as someone still is too poor to afford proper shoes, insoles may not make it perfect, but a whole lot better. Beer. A lot of them are desperately trying to get their life together and get off drugs and alcohol. I was on my way to a party and didn't have any cash or beer, but I offered a beer from my 12 pack. They turned it down and said they quit drinking. It really made me feel like crap and gave me a new perspective. Those fake dollar bills with biblical scripture on them. Doing as a tip is already scummy AF. Doing so to homeless is the antithesis of Christianity. That last sentence is so truthful. Jesus warned us of people who would do terrible things in his name. He said they are no children of his. For Thanksgiving I saw a couple hand a turkey to a homeless guy that was panhandling. Sounds sweet, right? Except it was raw defrosted meat and he had to stop panhandling for cash and get in the bus to go back home, or B, the meat goes bad. I was homeless and a guy threw a pack of razor blades in my lap and said do the world a favor, so I did. I used them to shave to help me find work. A month later I was in a caravan with a job to go to. 6 months later I had a car. Now I live in an apartment complex and have a full-time job. That is amazing. I was asked for cash by a homeless woman at a gas station recently. I didn't have any and told her so. Asked her if there was anything in particular she wanted from inside and her response was cigarettes. So I bought her a pack of cigarettes. That is literally the first time in my 30+ years I have ever bought cigarettes. My so smokes and will give a cigarette to the homeless person that asks. So told me that not only does it function as expected, but it also functions as currency among the homeless and a means of gleaning trust and goodwill. The familiar ones may abstain from messing with our stuff or sometimes return that goodwill as guardians that prevent others from messing with us. Years ago, I was nipping to my local supermarket and there was a homeless dude with a cute dog curled up next to him. Mindful that any money I gave him may be spent wisely, I said I'd get his puppa some food, at which he responded, "Oh, for frick's sake, can you not?" Astonished, I was about to have a freaking meltdown on his butt, but he held up a finger and pulled a bag round from behind him. It was rammed with tins of dog food, clearly from other well-meaning shoppers. Closing the bag back up, he sighed heavily and exclaimed, "For the love of God, can you just buy me a freaking tin opener? I've been told to donate canned food with pull tops for this exact reason." This is a really helpful and insightful post. I am currently doing a fundraiser to make care packages for the homeless and need to know what not to get. I'm an NYC. There's the homeless one should avoid like the plague. And then there's the homeless who one can approach and give food, or a few bucks. It bothers me to say, but as a New Yorker, you develop the savviness and instinct to size up the difference really freaking fast. I'm a train operator. The ones you give food to are the ones who are keeping to themselves and sitting the corner. The ones you don't give to are the ones actively asking. 90% of time I see them shooting up H near the 10 marker, or like you said, the crazy ones. I started to have to keep cigarettes in order to get homeless people off of the train. I will never forget when I was about 18, I was walking in downtown Atlanta with my mom. She gave a few bucks to every single homeless person we passed by. I was like, "Mom, you know they're probably just gonna spend it on drugs or alcohol." She simply said that's none of my business. Just so matter-of-factly put me in my place and really made me think. This is also the same woman who left her $100 cash back in the self-checkout at Target by accident and didn't even go back for it. We were still in the parking lot when she realized, because it made her happy thinking how someone's day just got better when the next person used that checkout. My mom, man, she's just better than me, period. I saw a comment on Reddit once that said something like what they do with their money says something about them, but my judging them or refusing to help says something about me. Internet fame. Stop recording your good deeds to get attention. If you wanna help someone out, just help them. In Islam they say good deeds that are done in secret are worth more than observed ones. Saw a guy sell a hatchet to a crazy homeless guy for $1 at a garage sale in Venice Beach once. I'm like, dude, that could end really horribly. A hatchet is a useful tool. I think a more useful question may be, what is something you should give to a homeless person? For this, I live in a small city with a high percentage of homelessness. The local shelter around here recommends some great items to store in your car. Travel size hygiene products, new toothbrush, toothpaste, etc. Emergency space blankets, travel ponchos, chapstick, thermal socks, reusable water bottles, non-perishable food items. I am homeless. I never ask for handouts or use food banks or anything like that, but from my experience over the past year, not every homeless person has easy access to showers, bathrooms, etc. Simple, small toiletries, travel soap, travel toothpaste brush, deodorant, etc. can make a big difference. I am luckier than many. I work 7 days a week and pay my way. I stay in hotels several days a week and alternate with my car on days where I don't make the money I need to, or when my other bills, medication, cell phone, etc. are due. I have been a working homeless person for 1 year. I never thought this would be my life. I work 7 days a week, but with expenses so high, trust me, it is way more expensive being homeless than having a cheap apartment, since you have nowhere to store cold foods, pantry items, etc. I have been trying to save the money I need to get an apartment first, last, and security since the 18th of October, 2020, and I am still $1,500 away. It took me 14 months to save $500. $1,500 is a drop in the bucket for so many people, but for people like me, that is a life-changing amount of money. If you decide to help a homeless person, remember not every homeless individual is on drugs. I myself am nearly 10 years drug-free. A couple dollars can mean a meal, medication, soap, toiletries, and for women, tampons, pads, things that allow us as homeless to still have dignity. I've always been told don't give homeless people money because they'll spend it on drugs. I get that, but I also think if I was on the streets, especially in winter, then I'd need something like that just to survive, so I usually do anyway. Husband was homeless drug addict. He always gives them his change. Paying it back, he says. I have snuck out food at the restaurant I worked at once or twice. Sometimes I'll take the mistakes home to eat. We had some good steak bulgogi skewers. I had those and some extra fried rice. This man was walking by while I was leaving work and asked for money, but I only had the food, but he could have it. He was happy to get some decent food and thanked me for it. Same for another guy. There was a lot of homeless where I worked. JT was a cold day and he didn't have a coat, and I had gotten a huge woman's fur coat. Fake, but the person was gonna trash it in my car still cause I was gonna donate it. I offered it to him and he said heck yeah, and bonus that it fit over his backpack. I saw him skating by multiple times wearing that coat. I had a friend that gave an apple to a homeless dude. As she walked away, he screamed, "I don't have any teeth," and then threw a perfect strike to her head with the apple. Here's a valuable info. If you give someone something, homeless or not, it doesn't mean you can argue with that person about how they've used it. If you give a homeless person money, that's his money from that point on. He can spend it whenever and however he wants to. I don't care if he buys drugs or liquor. What I don't want is an old lady with a broken arm due to a desperate individual looking for a fix. Recently, a person in my local Facebook group was having a huge public meltdown because she donated some clothes, then found them for sale on Marketplace. They were items like stiletto heel shoes, and they were asking $5.10 each. Maybe a person who is relying on clothing donations needs money more than they need a clubbing outfit. Socks, underwear, thermal undies, long johns, gloves and hats, bar soap. This stuff will make their day since it's just basics and easy to tote. Also, if you're feeling overly generous, jackets and basic shirts. I know it doesn't sound like much to most, but honestly the basics are the most sought after. A beating. I know it sounds obvious, but the internet is full of videos of people beating up unsuspecting homeless people for the fun of it. Food that isn't sealed or wrapped up. Unfortunately, there are crappy people out there that do horrible things like put glass or tacks in food and then give it to homeless people. If you want to give them some food, your best bet is something in a sealed container. And in general, homeless people need food a lot less than they need other things, like hygiene products, weather appropriate clothing, a smartphone, or money for data if they already have a smartphone, etc. Food is typically something that homeless people can get quite easily. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.